Everybody, welcome to 3+1, the live cast. Let me tell you, the devil works hard, but what, Karen?
We work harder. Okay.
We are really thankful. Tracey and I are so excited to be in a position to interview prolific TikTok content creator, notorious anti-racist, and host of the Fresh Tea podcast, Aunt Karen. Aunt Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Now, for everybody watching, Tracey, I just gave you some breaking news. We're going to talk about it after the interview for our audience. But everyone out there, you stick around because we really do have some breaking news. And we have some amazing friends. Mark G is a good friend of the auntie.
Yes.
As is Cassidy.
Yes.
Welcome to you both. We are happy that you're here. They are working hard and doing some good work. And when you speak of good work, Aunt Karen, we want to know, but there's a lot of things that we want to know. There's a huge amount of things. And I want to start off with number one. What was your very first, what really made you decide to really focus on anti-racism and being the Aunt Karen to expose the Karens?
This is something that I've always wanted to do. This is something, it's just TikTok gave me a platform. And my first video to go viral was the day after the election. A kid in my neighborhood was taking down a Biden sign. And I stopped him from taking down that sign. And it went viral. I mean, I woke up 7 million views. And it was me talking to this white kid that he shouldn't be taking down the sign. And that just propelled everything. And I was being called a Karen. And from then on, I said, I mean, if that makes me a Karen sticking up for what I believe is right and racism and all of that, oh, absolutely.
Wow. So I know I knew it. I knew you were going to have the fans in the house because I'm a fan. I'm a super fan, Aunt Karen.
Thank you so much.
I love it. And so that motivated your journey. It has been, because I read the comments, I see what people say. What you're doing is a civil service to our society, but it's extremely hard work.
Yes.
How do you manage the trolls and the racist comments that you get? Because what you're doing, and for anyone out there who may not know Aunt Karen, follow her on TikTok, right now, amazing account. Follow her on IG. She's getting her IG up and going. Follow the podcast, but definitely follow on TikTok. And she literally is exposing racist issues in America in a way that no other content creator is doing. So she'll have the racist of the day. And she just finished a beautiful series on the Riverwood. Is it Riverwood School District?
Yes, Riverwood School District.
We're going to talk about that. But amazing series. But you're exposing racists, and these racists now come back at you hard. And they get friends and they get community members. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I have a great support system. I'm a twin. I have a twin sister. I have my besties, and these are people who support me. And, I just have to call them who they are. Mark Cassidy, they both support me, but it's the support system. Trolls are trolls. These are keyboard warriors. And let's be honest, if I don't feel as though you're an actual threat or you're going to actually mean something, to the side you go. I'm here to speak on injustices, and that's what I do.
Well, we appreciate all that you do for speaking out about the injustices. I want to know, what is this your day job? This is what you focus your life's passion on, or do you have another occupation? And if so, what do you do to not only just balance those two things, what do you do for mental health?
So I have a day job. I work in human resources. And this is my side gig. And when I say side gig, this needs to be my life because it feels like it is my life. But, it's all about opportunity. And the way I balance those two is just by my support system, taking some time for me. I mean, whether it's getting my hair done, my nails done, mental health is so, so important. And it just doesn't matter who you are. Mental health is important. And when I look at those comments, I would be lying if I said they never affect me. They do affect me to a point, but it's because of that support system and the balance that I have with people in my circle that I know that I can do this and I'm strong enough to do this.
Because see, I'm a little fragile little thing, okay? I'm a Cancer, and so I can barely take it when I get one or two comments. You know,
Tracy said she's a Cancer. Aunt Karen, what's your sign? Because
I'm a Gemini.
Gemini.
My best friend is a Gemini, so she's tough as nails.
Someone on this live cast has been with a Gemini for 8 years. That's called stamina.
Oh, okay.
in more ways than one.
And you not lying. You not lying.
So because for me, I'm in an industry that requires a lot of tough skin. I get we go through rejection a lot. Mentally, I have to go talk to a therapist. I have to meditate. So
that I do as well. Absolutely. I mean, to me, I feel like everyone needs a therapist. I mean, you need someone who is outside of your circle to be able to just give you the advice that maybe the people in your circle can't give you all the time, whether it's protecting your feelings, protecting their feel. However it is, you need somebody who is just partial.
Yeah. I like her.
I like you too. You don't know. I'm a fan. I'm such a fan. I'm fangirling so hard right now.
I guess because we got Mark and we got Cassidy and we got T9 toxicity, but T9city, I don't know what that is. I'm glad you're here. If you don't know, Tracy Bonner is an actress. Season 1 of Sweet Magnolias is out right now on Netflix, as well as Raising Dion, the Doom Patrol. I know that's episode 4 of season 2. And of course, one of my favorite programs, Black Lightning, where you were LaWanda. But again, it's so many roles. Tracy's in so many things. You'll be surprised when she'll pop up. People are always like, oh my God, I just saw Tracy on the Disney Channel and she was playing this evil, whatever that was, that board member on Disney Channel, you played in that Disney movie. But anyway, back to here's a question on Karen. When you say this should be your full-time job, I agree. I agree. And for those of you out there who are not following me on TikTok, I don't think none of you people follow me on Karen. I don't know if you follow me. I hope you do as tonight. My TikTok is Zacktivist, not the Zack, but just Zacktivist.
Yes.
And I know how much work it takes to put into creating that content. Yes. That really is a full-time job. In addition to monetize that, to get brand deals and to really do the work is a piece of it. You are growing your brand now with Fresh Tea, the podcast, which I've listened to, love it.
Thank you.
My question is this, have you thought about what's going to come next and how you really can do this full time? Because this work is so essential to where our society needs to go.
Absolutely. I've definitely thought about it. And it's all I think about because as I've been growing, it's what's my next move? How do I do this? And it's all about the process. It's all about taking my time and making sure I make the right move. So I'm waiting for opportunities. I know that they're there. It's just about timing. And I have 100% confidence in myself that this will be my job full time.
So do I. I have 100% confidence as well. And the podcast is a great step in that direction. Have you thought about writing a book that takes all the knowledge, that talks about maybe some of your most prolific racist incidents and give you perspective? Because like when Tracy said earlier, we have talked on this live cast. We're in an actual series where we're talking about these issues, very much going in depth with them. And we talked about how everyone has a role to play, but it's really hard to find the role that you can play that's going to still work for you. For some people, doing what you're doing and being on the forefront of the anti-racist work is so draining and it's so harsh. It's hard to deal with those trolls. It's hard to see all that negativity. It's even hard to turn on the news sometimes.
Yes.
Have you thought about writing a book that you could share with others? Because we want it. We need it.
Yes. Absolutely, I have. I have so many stories to tell. You know, one of the things you did ask is what propelled me. You know, besides making the TikTok, everything stems from my grandmother. Every bit of the experiences I have stems from her. You know, one of the first moments I knew about racism was when I was 5 years old. My grandmother was walking me to school, and a guy in a red pickup truck, white man, yelled the N-word to us. And just by her reaction, I knew it was bad. And I knew it was something that I was going to have to prepare myself for. And she continued walking me on to school, and she's such a strong woman to this day. So she is a part of that. And that's the stories I have to tell. And that's what this all stems from.
My good buddy and a good friend of the podcast, Zach Thomas, joined in. Zach is a diversity and inclusion expert. So, Zach, I'm glad you're here. And if there are any questions that you have for Aunt Karen, please chime in. Now, Aunt Karen, let's talk about Riverwood School District.
Oh.
That, for me, has been one of the most compelling series that I've seen on TikTok. And tell us about you cue it up and you tell us about it. You and I, we can dig into some of it because this was like shocking. This group, and it started with that racist of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Rockwood. So Rockwood School District has been in a battle over diversity and inclusion in their school district, to the point where they didn't even want to read African American books because they were saying, this group of parents were saying that it's making the white children feel bad. And it had nothing to do with that. But this small group of parents called Concerned Parents of Rockwood on Facebook, they took it to a whole different level. And there's pictures, there's photos, there's screenshots of every kind of conversation that you can have where these parents are being openly, in my opinion, openly racist, to the point that their superintendent, who came down from across the whole states to move to Missouri with his family, and he is resigning at the age of 49. And that's it for him. And he served one of his years were fully through COVID. So you know it's bad when something like that happens. There's so much going on there.
What do you think the fear is? What do you think white families fear that their children will learn by immersing themselves in another race or a culture? What's the fear there?
It's the white guilt fear. It's the fear of them it's the fear that has propelled the racism throughout time here. It's the fear that they're going to have white guilt. It's the reason why Black people do not get the reparations that we deserve. It's the reason why the history is not taught properly in schools. We all get a watered down version of history. I remember when I was a kid, slavery was a migration. It wasn't a no. We snatched people, ripped babies from arms. It was we moved them from one point to the other. They didn't know the language. They had their own language. That's not how it was presented. That's how it was presented. It's not the truth. And the truth needs to be presented, because if we present it properly, we could end racism and end the fear.
Can we end? That has been our discussion in this series. We had Jordan Simone last week, another TikTok creator. Mm-hmm. We have had a professor. We've had some great guests, and we've been talking about that. I don't believe that we will end racism in our lifetime or in our children's lifetime, but it's possible for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren if we work hard. Yes. It is my belief, though, Karen, and Tracey knows that I'll say this, that we aren't the ones who can do it. I don't believe that Black people can end racism because we are not the ones who uphold it. It is the work of our allies to go out and make more allies so that the people who are committed to ending racism are now the new majority in America. And right now, that's not the case. What you see with Rockwood is the actual consequence or the backlash or the opposite effect of the work that we've been doing, or many people, whole network of anti-racists. Once we start making progress, and once we started to bring people together, we then have things like Rockwood happening and people becoming more emboldened to speak out against it. You have a whole entire army on the conservative right geared towards ending the teaching of the 1619 Project and critical race theory and wokeism, as they call it, which is nothing but an accurate depiction of American history, though just giving fair and equal representation of the events from multiple vantage points. But it is absolutely under attack, and they're slowly winning. And this is not the first time that we have seen this happen in American history. This is exactly what happened after Reconstruction that gave us Jim Crow laws. This is exactly what happened after the Civil Rights Movement and the gain of the Civil Rights Movement with the assassination of multiple leaders, where then you have a complete suppression of the movement that leads in an opposite direction. And that's why you had the 80s come about, and you had the crack epidemic, and you had Reaganomics. Those were the responses to these movements and the progress that was made. And I'm afraid that we could have the exact same thing happen again if we're not careful. What can we do, if anything, to avoid that? And that's an open question for anyone out there, our viewers as well as our ladies.
Yeah. You know, I think it really just it is with our allies. We hold the power, but they have to hold our hands in the sense of they need to walk with us. You know, one of those powerful things is the walk that we have to take together. I don't believe that it's just them alone. It's the willingness to listen, and that's what drives the allies, and that's what drives them. But you are correct in the sense of we cannot get there without them. And you must be an ally. And to be a true ally, you must be willing to stand up for people of color, despite the reaction, despite what could happen, the consequences. And that was always my problem with another TikTok creator, OnlyJS. And if you haven't seen, if you don't know about that history, that was a big issue because that TikTok creator stood up in front of millions of people and said that they were going to lift up Black voices. No one told them to do this. They said when they got caught for saying the N-word, and
tell everybody what she did, because some of our viewers don't know, what did OnlyJS do? So
OnlyJS had some text messages leaked from a few years ago when they said when they said a racial slur and also some homophobic slurs as well. They stood in front of TikTok world and said that they would uplift Black voices, and they did not do that at all. They said they were going to reach out to Black content creators and uplift those voices, utilize their platform. I was one of them. They friended me on TikTok and we became mutuals. And when it was time to collaborate, they let the ball drop. Now, this was back. This promise, this guarantee was back in February. It's now May, and that has not been done at all. And so it was a big blow up, if you will, because they've tried to blame me for not being able to collab. And their excuse was they couldn't get to their emails. It was a shame.
And her outburst and everything else, because let me be honest. I have no problem saying what I do and defending what I did. So when this was before your series made me re-examine her. So when she first came out, everybody was attacking her. I was defending OnlyJS because she's a child. And she's a child in the foster care system and had suffered through a number of traumas. So things that she may have said at 14 to 16, I was like, she is a child. As an adult, I personally, you'll never see me attacking like children, like rape kids, because they're kids. So because she was 14, 16, I was defending her. Now she's a grown, now OnlyJS is an adult.
Yes.
It is her adult responses that have truly caused me to question everything prior, to say maybe I was wrong to even defend her in the first place, because she made a mistake at 14 to 16. But now she has evolved, or so I thought. But now we see that was all for.
That's not a mistake. look,
Yeah.
let me tell you something. You're an educator. You should know better. You should have educated her then. You should have gotten her then. You want to educate somebody, you get them when they're the most impressionable. That's where you make the mistake. That you got to get them then, because ignorant children turn into ignorant adults.
Right.
So you got to get them early. So now that we're speaking on this, Zack is an educator. He believes in educating the masses. I ask this question every week because I don't believe it is Black people's responsibility to educate white people how not to be racist. Okay. I do agree that we should be there in the space so we can kind of guide or correct them, but I don't think we should educate them on that. So what are your thoughts and feelings on this? Because you do have a platform where you can reach the masses, and so that's one question. But then my other question is, do you think you can actually make a difference to those who don't agree with you, who don't believe what you believe?
So the answer to your first question, I do believe that it is not our responsibility at all to educate, because there's so much information out there. It is not if you are at any age where you have received some form of education, it is not our responsibility as Black people to do this. So when people say that, well, I get this question all the time. Well, why didn't you reach out to them privately? Why didn't you just, give them a call, message them, and then tell them what they did wrong? That's not my job. When you put something out there publicly, I'm going to do a public response. And I think that's the best way to do it. Now, do I think that I can change some people's minds? My thought is to put the information out there, because a lot of people have come to me and said, wow, I didn't realize it was that bad. I had a lot of people say and ask me questions. Well, what is the proper way to do something? What is the proper way to ask how to, if I want to ask an African American woman about her hair, how do I ask her? Because these are all good questions. And these are people who don't want to make scenes and who want to understand and who want to be educated. You know what I'm saying? And the thing with OnlyJS, they could check their emails for money opportunities, but they could not check their emails and get back to me. Now, that just says what it says. You are a performative activist. You, and in my opinion, has shown time and time again that you are racist. And yet you have amassed a following of 12.3 million people. And if you notice, every time OnlyJS responded about me, it was on their alternate account that only had 1.1 million followers. They never responded on their main account, and that was to hide the issue.
So we have some great comments, and we're getting ready to honor those comments thoroughly for everybody there. So let me just give the opposite, just my belief. It's a little bit of a different perspective. And so earlier, Zach Thomas said, and I'm glad to get to go back to it, people have to learn to sit in their uncomfortable feelings. Use those uncomfortable feelings as a resource education. That is a very honest and profound statement and true. But here's the thing, and I see, Mark, I want you to also kind of chime in because you're making some great points about white fragility. But here's the thing, there is a huge majority of white people out here in this world who do not understand the racism that perpetuates our society. They also don't understand how they also continue it and keep it alive. Someone has to turn the switch for them. I firmly believe that everybody out here, including Black people, have had some incident like what you had with your grandmother at age 5, or a book, or something has turned the switch for us. We had to wake up and realize the realities of social justice and racism in our country. If we don't do that, for white people, then the chance that they will ever realize, to me, is minimized. It is ideal for our allies to do that work, but right now we don't have enough. We see them visibly and vocally at the rallies, at our marches, on television. If you watch MSNBC, probably not if you watch Fox, and questioning now if you see it when you watch CNN with them keeping Rick Santorum but letting go of other commentators of color. We see them on TikTok because it's really popular right now to be, as you said, performative and to get out there and say that they're an ally. And it's not popular to be a racist. But when it becomes popular to be a racist again, you may see something else. So that's why I believe, I know I can't end racism, but for my future, I need it to end.
Yes.
I need to leave this earth in 60 years, because I'm going to make it to be a real old man. Skin gonna still look good. I need to leave this earth in 60 years knowing that it is better than it was that when I walked the earth. And I see how society is improving for people in the LGBTQIA plus community. And I see some growth happening in other areas, but racism is now becoming once again at an all-time high in the country. And if we don't educate and empower our allies to fight the fight, we'll never win. We'll never end it. And so then when Zack says about the, Black fatigue is real, I agree with you. And like we said in previous episodes, everyone isn't called for the same work. I believe every single person, all of us, everyone on this live cast and everyone in these comments, we all have a role to play in ending racism, making America a better place. It may be social media, it may be conversations among your own community. We have Candace Owens, we have Christian Walker, we have even bigger problems, people like Tim Scott and Daniel Cameron. There's work for everyone to do. I believe as an educator, I am called to reach out in multiple communities to bring those communities together. That is my calling. And it's also, I believe, on the platform of TikTok, my role is to really call out those people in our community that are detrimental to the work. There are things that Dr. Umar Johnson says that is literally detrimental to the growth of the Black community, because you are wanting to marginalize women and ostracize members of the LGBTQIA plus community who are Black as well. Everyone has to be a part of this fight. We need our Asian American, Pacific Islander brothers and sisters. We need our Latinx brothers and sisters. We need our white allies. We must all be united together to battle and beat racism and in every element of our society. That is what I believe. But
yes,
with that,
we do need everybody, but we also need the other people of color to recognize the racism within that they've experienced. I think a lot of different races sweep that under the rug and don't really talk about the injustices that they face in their communities. And they kind of slide by and walk the line with this westernized way of living. And we've got to get them to see that they too are minority. They too are being discriminated against in order for them to stick with us. Otherwise, it's not going to work. I do agree to an extent. I don't think, Zack, I'm not an educator in the sense like you are. Like you and Aunt Karen, y'all speak out on your platforms. It's your life's work. I will just go in my story and post something as recent as the NFL draft. They didn't draft anyone from an HBCU this year out of the 259 players. And so for me, I posted it and I was like, look, this is a form of institutional racism. This is how, if you are not in a predominantly white institution, you will not be rewarded. So kids, come play at our universities because see, you're not getting drafted at HBCUs. So those are ways in which I educate, but I'm not going to go out here and be on no panel. And if somebody asks me, how can I be a better white ally? I'm going to say, you're a human being, right? You see that we are humans, right? Like I shouldn't have to educate you on being human and recognizing when something is discriminatory. Like, you know what it feels like to not have, and other people, and you see other people having something. Like, you have to reckon. I just don't believe I should sit down and walk you through it and hold your hand. That bothers me, because you're already privileged enough. I mean, it's not like your people were told that you couldn't read and learn. We were told that. Like, you don't see that.
But there is a whole entire. I don't know how. I haven't figured out where it fits in the perspective yet. Right? I don't know if I want to call it. I don't know if it's the platform at the bottom, like it's the foundation. Sometimes I think that this is the foundation of the problem. Sometimes I think it's the roof, right? Like, I think it's the roof that shelters all of it. And sometimes I think it's like, you know what? It's the base of the pillars that holds up racism. The base of the pillar that holds up racism is poverty. Mm-hmm. It is, I don't want to say it's capitalism, but in some regards, it might be elements of it, because the Republican Party and conservatives are using racism to ensure that people who have been disadvantaged because of poverty, who are white, hold in and burrow in and firmly believe that this is an essential element of their survival. And that's a piece of it. They are just as marginalized in this battle as a number of other people are. And we have to recognize that and help them in that fight. If we were, and this is something actually that, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. realized towards the unfortunate end of his life, that ending poverty through the Poor People's Campaign would be instrumental in ending racism. Mm-hmm. However, he was assassinated and that work remained undone, and it just didn't continue to be in the spotlight. So we have some really great comments here. And I want to definitely talk, Terry. This is a really great question. We're going to address this. I want to, before I shut up completely, and Candace, yes, we're going to talk about the breaking news when we get to our current events. And Cassidy, an outside perspective, Mark you can be a better ally to Aunt Karen by, number one, continuing to share and amplify her voice in your communities, right? So when Aunt Karen talks about the races of the day, it's immediate. You share it, you put it on all your platforms, you hype it up. We have to share her work. We have to comment on her work. We have to like her work. So it's boosted. We have to engage with her followers. We have to fight her trolls. Those are things that we have to do for her in her platform being social media. Additionally, we have to duet her, we have to stitch her, we have to repost her, and we also have to use her work to further our own work and to inform our own work so that we can be better in the work that we do, and question her so that we understand what it is that we're talking about when we share her work.
Right. 100%. It's all about sharing the content, understanding what you're sharing though, and the meaning behind it. So, Cassie, what you said is 100% a great question, because you got to know what it is and you have to be able to share that.
So, it was brought up by Terry right here when Terry said, because this is a pretty real issue on TikTok, and it's something that, Tracey called this out a long time ago. She said, I hate TikTok. I'm not getting TikTok. I'm not going to get on nobody's TikTok, because she said TikTok was inherently racist. And so Terry says, I noticed how TikTok seems to hide Black content. Will you continue to use that platform? I hate that we make these platforms popular, but we're not the most recognized creators. Aunt Karen, how do you deal with it, or how have you addressed it? And I'll tell you how I've addressed it, or how I've decided to move with it.
I've decided, for right now, it is where my biggest following is. So the way that I've done this is to say I need to expand away from it. So take my following and take it elsewhere. So it's not that 100%. I believe that TikTok hides Black content. They do. They take a lot of white content creators, take from Black content creators and make it, popular. And it's after, like what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Jimmy Fallon.
Ashton, I love you. Thank you so much.
You mean Jimmy Fallon?
Jimmy Fallon. Yeah.
See,
So
Jimmy
sorry,
Kimmel
Jimmy
on
Fallon.
Karen. See, Jimmy Kimmel on Karen is like me, a Scorpio, and he the real deal. See, Jimmy Kimmel on the front lines. Now he real misogynistic and real ignorant stuff, but we forgave him for that because right now he be on the front lines. But Jimmy Fallon.
So he's what I would have said was performative. He knew when he put them on that show when he put her on that show that she did not create those TikTok dances. And I'm so sick of.
Did he know, Aunt Karen? Are we sure that he knew this? Because I do believe that there are some white people that believe that they came up with some of this stuff. Like
that Addison Rae made those dances.
No, the reason they believe it is because TikTok doesn't show enough of Black content creators doing it.
So
he felt victim to what a lot of white people see and think is actually being done. So if you know anything about one content creator, New Main is what he goes by. Yes, he then stole everybody content. I don't even know. And he calls himself an actor. He had nerve enough to call himself an actor. The reason he stole so much is because he's an actor, and we just don't do it well enough. And he has his pros. Come on to other people's pages.
Tracey, imagine if The Color Purple would have come out and it would have done just average at the box office. And then someone would have come out with The Color Purple, but had with an all-white cast. And it would have been the exact same story. That's what New Main does on TikTok. Maybe even a better scenario would be Love Jones. Imagine if Love Jones would have came out and then had a redo of it with the all-white cast. That is exactly
word for word.
That's gimmick. That's what we call in theater, because a lot of white theaters are doing that now. They're taking classic traditionally cast white plays and they're casting all Black casts to be in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, for example. We would never see an all Black cast of that. It's called gimmick.
Yeah.
What's gonna sell? Okay, I'm gonna put all these Black people on this traditionally cast white play and we'll get money, and it's smart. It's smart on his behalf, his behalf, but
it is. But he's and I have to talk about him on this. He's selling shirts now, and whenever I see his name, I just see thief. So I'm like, his shirt, it just has his name, New Main, on it, and I just thought to myself, you are obviously someone who steals content. If somebody wore that shirt, I would just think thief automatically, but that's how not in tune he is with that. He has become the joke.
Yeah.
Here is a question that I have, that this is what bothers me and makes me question, is why is it that OnlyJS hasn't lost followers? And why is that New Main hasn't lost followers? I believe that TikTok is sending out the message to certain people, but not to a wide audience. I don't think that every Black person knows what OnlyJS did that's on the app. I don't think every Black person knows what New Main did who's still on the app. And I think that's a problem with TikTok. So as Terry has said earlier, there is work to do. This is the problem, is that number one, I use TikTok for the capabilities of video. That's content creation. I'm not really making TikToks to necessarily get views and likes on TikTok, because ain't nobody looking at my content because it's, for whatever reason. I won't say it. I'm not gonna be like Granny and say that I'm shadow banned or every single Granny post. But I will say that I then put it on my Instagram, which has a larger following than my TikTok, and I put it on Facebook that has a very loyal following of actual people I know, and I just share it that way. That's why I'm still using it, but there really is no other alternative. And then anytime we talk about a break or a boycott or a blackout, we have a whole slew of Black creators that fight against doing it and say don't do it, and it never works.
Yeah.
Well, I just often wonder, why is it that when we find platforms such as a TikTok that allows this to happen, why aren't the top Black creators banding together and leaving that platform and going somewhere else and taking your talents to South Beach, like like LeBron did. Like, why don't you remove yourself from this platform once you realize that they are being biased and a part of the problem? Why do you continue to give them more viewers and support?
You know, for me personally, that's why I'm branching out of it. To be honest with you, Tracey, you're 100% right. Once I get amassed my following and start, that's why I'm doing my podcast. That's why I moved to Instagram. That's why, you know, I'm moving to Facebook with things, because you are 100% correct. I don't want to continuously use this platform anymore, because it does not support what I'm trying to do, my mission. Now, if I want to get up there and shake my ass, I'm sure they'll support that. You know what I'm saying?
And boost the content.
I could amass a different kind of following.
Or eat watermelon the way that one poor lady, you know, who started out, I don't know what she was doing, like fitness, and then she started eating watermelon, and then it became a disaster.
Yes. The Janelle situation. Yes. It's the thing where it's like I rather just amass my following, have a loyal fan base, move, take opportunities where I can get them, and make my own opportunities as well, because I believe in that.
I think that should be the next step, Zach.
Well, I'm not there. I'm only sitting at about 15 followers, so I still have a long ways to go. So here's the thing. You know, I agree with that.
Then take your 15 followers and go somewhere else. Zach, come on now.
I think you know, I was actually ready to do the blackout of May, and I actually took 5 days break. I didn't post content for 5 days on purpose to support the month of May blackout, which was a response to the Black creators not having their recognition on Jimmy Kimmel. But the problem is, I saw a group of Black creators who are a part of an organization. Karen, I don't know if you're a part of it. It's a secret organization. I don't know. I know I ain't a part of it. You may be a part of that secret organization on TikTok. You know how it goes in. You know, you take the piece of paper. You do this. You kind of just have to. You close it, but another word for close. And so I know that those creators, they didn't stop. They're still there. They're still doing their content. And I realized if they don't leave, Black people aren't going to leave. If they don't support the blackout and talk about the blackout, then Black people aren't going to know about the blackout. So that's why I saw that organization, that huge body of Black content creators and allies, were not going to stop. They were going to continue to fight the fight. And I was like, well, I'll take my 5 days, but I won't take the whole month, because Black people will still be on this app.
I'm tired of these fake boycotts, blackout.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of these boycotts that don't have a resolution at the end. Like, what is our goal? What are we trying to get? You know, because we're not going to be on TikTok. Like, what is the end game?
Well, that's a good question. What could be the end? Like, it could be a little situation of TikTok. You're going to either boost and support authentic Black content, not like what they did with the Black Creators Fund, where they got Black people entertaining.
Yeah.
You're going to actually support activism and content creators like I'm Karen, who are dedicated to anti-racism, or we're going to leave the app. But if we do that and we leave the app, what then happens to our voice that we're trying to have amplified?
Go somewhere else. And also, y'all need to start challenging these platforms to have.
I ain't trying to be like Donald Trump.
Black and brown.
Donald Trump had all them folks storming capitals on Twitter, and now he has no one caring what he has to say except
what I'm saying is that if these platforms don't have Black and brown people represented in their upper office, on their boards, that is not going to change. That is what's happening with theaters across the country. They're hiring Black artistic directors to be the artistic leader, the artistic face of the company, but their boards are majority white.
Right. Yeah.
How are we going to change any institution, you know, if the boards and the people that are making the decisions do not look like the people who are asking for the change?
Yeah. And it's like it's very, that happens a lot with so many things. It's when people misunderstand the representation. When you have a Black person, it's like with the marketing, and when somebody makes a marketing decision that backfires on them. And I can't remember this campaign, but it was like a makeup campaign where the woman went from Black to white, and that was like a big issue. It was the way they lined up the makeup and the people in the video, and a lot of people were very offended by that. And it was almost like they're saying, well, take off the Black and you make it to you get to, and it was just the marketing director. And it's like, there, if you're not in it, you don't know it. And you should have Black board members. You need to have not just someone who's the face of it, but someone who's actually making those critical decisions.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, because then you can have somebody to say, no, here's why Black people will find this offensive. Here's why we want to show a true representation of a Black woman in whatever that natural form, whatever, instead of somebody who's always the mixed race, which this is not a knock to anybody, being mixed race. It's just whenever you see a lot of what they show, it's in commercials and things like that. It's the watered down version of what they want people to see and not what they really should be showing.
That is 100%, 100% true. We had some great comments on here. I want to make sure we've honored all the good comments before we move into the up, down, and the clown, and honoring the time that we have. Again, everyone out there, you need to follow Aunt Karen on TikTok and Instagram, and you also need to download Fresh Tea, the podcast. It's found right now on Spotify. Fresh Tea, the podcast, right now on Spotify. Aunt Karen, here's a question before we go into the big news of the week. Is this: you do the races of the day. You've been doing this for quite a while. Do you have a situation that is so shocking to you that our people need to Google and get involved?
Right now, the issue that I'm facing right now is where a woman were two oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the actual way it happened. A Muslim sister had her hijab ripped off, and she was jumped by two students in her school. And I'm wanting to see a real response from North Penn High School in Pennsylvania. Now, they put out a watered down response. They said that, they're sorry that they didn't try to attempt to put the hijab back to help her cover her hair. It's the insensitive. It's that not being sensitive enough to know that when that came off, that they should have done more. Instead, all three girls, I should say, were suspended. Now, this young lady was jumped, had her hijab ripped off, and they knew days prior that this girl was being harassed. She was being called the N-word by these two white girls. And it is just amazing to me that they refuse to do anything about it. And then, of course, now all three of them are suspended. And I do not believe, and if you go to my recent videos, you will see that the story I'm talking about. I do not believe they should have suspended her. It was an absolute wreck what they did. And they should have helped her. They should have helped her cover her hair. They knew in advance that this was happening.
I saw the video and I was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked. I'm not surprised at the school's response, but I was extremely disappointed at the level of bullying and racism that these kids, this was a premeditated attack.
Yep.
On a woman's faith. Mm-hmm. And they told her that they were going to beat her up and take off her hijab, and they did it. And
that's a hate crime.
It's a hate crime.
We have to say it like it is. That was a hate crime. Those two teens knew what they were doing. They had texted each other their screenshots that they were going to do at the school. The girl had told them that she was being harassed by these two girls, and I did talk to the mother. Mm-hmm. So and I spoke with the mother. Her and I She's telling me what's going on. We're in communication. And she said the best way is to amplify her daughter's story. Her daughter is a nice young woman and who did not deserve that. No one deserves that. And she did not deserve any of
I'm
that.
making a TikTok about it tonight, and I will send the email tonight. I will send an email tonight, and I will draft a version of like an email that anyone can get, and I'll post it. I guess in my link tree. Maybe I'll post it in my link tree. I'll send it to you as well, so that way you can have it. So it can be a form that other people who see this can also email to the school systems, kind of flood the superintendent, like overwhelm him with emails about the situation, because again, it was a hate crime and it needs to be treated as such.
And the parents should be reprimanded as well. Something they learned, that's a learned behavior.
Absolutely.
You know, we've got to start holding parents of 18 and under kids who are doing the bullying, who are, you know, doing the hating and the fighting and all. We got to hold them accountable as well, because what are you teaching at home that made that okay?
Absolutely.
I would have never been able to get away with something like that with the kind of parents I had. Oh no.
Same.
I would have never been able to think it up, you know.
It wouldn't have happened. So this is a great time to transition. So what we do on Karen, every week, we talk about the up. And what's the up, Tracey? How would you classify the up?
The good news, you know, something good in the news in your surrounding area that's happening that can uplift our audience.
And we start with good news. Now, it's bad news out there, but we start with the good news. And y'all, tonight's good news is all about this woman right here. Aunt Karen is fighting the good fight on social media in her podcast, and she is woke. Because we talked about wokeism last week. She's woke. And so is this young lady right here. I'm talking about the one and the only Tiffany Cross.
Yes.
This week, on Saturday, as a matter of fact, Tiffany Cross on her television show on MSNBC, The Cross Connection, addressed Tim Scott and his claim that America is not a racist country. And she did it in a way that was absolutely beautiful, articulate, and she read him for the absolute filth that encompasses his brain. Ultimately, she called this man a clown. Ladies, were you able to witness the Tiffany Cross diatribe, and what are your thoughts in general about her work on MSNBC?
You know what? For me, I love when someone can stand up and say what they have to say and mean every single word, and make that person see, even for themselves, that they were a clown. Yeah. When you look at that situation and you see how strong and how she held herself so well, that he looked like a clown, and you didn't even need the make. He still looked like a clown in the photo right now. He looks like a clown. I was so happy to see it. It needed to happen, because for someone to say that, it was such an incorrect statement. And for him to defend it, he's a clown, and I'm so glad to see her do it.
I think amen to that. I think we need to have more people with more courage, and who are on platforms like this, who are not afraid. Like SBC is huge. And so for her to be able to call him out publicly like that, I say more of that.
More. If you haven't seen it, Google the clip.
But she also needs to call out our vice president, as much as I love her.
Yes. I've
been on a roll this week. Like every time I see something racist in this country, I tag her to it, because I'm like, did you forget what happened?
Yeah, you see the whole clip, Tracey. You saw the whole interview.
I did, but my issue is a lot of people did not. Yeah. And when you say something like that, you've got to know that there are going to be some repercussions.
She knew. Let me give you my brief perspective on it. She knew there would be repercussions in the Black community, and she didn't have a choice. This is, to me, what happened. You had the interviewer put her in a really hard box on purpose. See, the difference is Tim Scott got up in front of America with a prepared response. He knew what he was going to say, and he was baiting an audience and pandering to a specific community.
Yes.
Vice President Kamala Harris was taken off guard by a question that she had to answer. She had to make a split-second decision. She had to look at the fact that I'm going to have to say America is not racist with a qualifying statement and explain myself, and that's what she did. Many people just took the clip and ran with it for clickbait because they want social media likes, views, and they want to amplify an issue and vilify a Black woman. Like Dr. Umar doesn't even want to admit that she's a Black woman. He refers to her as an Indian and says she's an Indian plant in America. That's how he describes our vice president. So there's a lot of I don't know what you want to call it, around Vice President Harris in the Black community, and that was amplified throughout the course of the week. But in her comment, she made a statement that America isn't racist, but then she classified it, and she gave a qualifying statement as to why she's saying that. That to me was satisfactory. To me, not to most people, but to Zachary it was. Here's also the thing. Think about when our First Lady, Michelle Obama, said that America was racist, and that was a talking point for 4 years. Kamala can't afford to have America talking about her saying America is racist for 4 years. She can't afford it for her political career and what she needs to do to move this nation forward. I think she made the right choice.
So that's my issue, is that Black people have to be very calculated when they make certain statements. It has to be politically correct. We can't call a thing a thing.
But she's a politician. That's her job. Like, we all have our jobs. Like, you know, she is a politician. She has to be politically correct. She doesn't have a choice or she won't be in office again. I would rather have her as vice president saying that America is not racist, but the people of America are, and that the institutions are, and that the systems are, than to not have her there. Because Mike Pence would have said the exact same thing, but he wouldn't have given a qualifying statement.
Well, I think what she should have done is said that the people of America are. We have institutions within. She shouldn't have never said America is not a racist country, when every day there's something racist within the grain of this country publicized on.
The other part of her interview said what I said, just not the way I said it. She said it a little bit softer,
and that's what
a little bit nicer.
And she's going to have to work on that, because
I 100% agree. I think, you know, she wanted to make it seem like the idea of America isn't racist, but the country right now as it stands is racist. And I think she will have to defend that. And she should defend that. Her statement, she should defend it. And, you know, it is unfair because Black people we always have to be careful on how we word things. And that is just somebody has said on their content, what advantage do white people have that Black people don't? That's an advantage. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't think so, but it is an advantage. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The freedom to speak your truth. Black people, we have to be very calculated.
Yeah,
we do, and
we have to read you. Like what? I don't know what that lady's name is on MSNBC.
Wait, don't say it because I'm gonna hit it. I'm right, because when you talk about what Kamala said, you talk about what was said by Joy. You know, the opposite of a Tiffany Cross, right? The opposite of a Tiffany Cross is a Tucker Carlson. And the racist rhetoric that he spews and the brainwashing that he gives to the uneducated viewers of Fox News. Tucker Carlson, and I didn't know this. I had no idea that Tucker Carlson was once working for MSNBC. I had no idea Tucker Carlson tried to work for CNN. I do know that he is not educated and has not achieved a level of, I don't think he has a college degree in the way that Rachel Maddow has a doctoral degree. So I know that his level of learning is significantly less, but I could never have read this man the way that our good sister, the one and the only Joy Reid, did on her show Monday night.
Yes.
This man has called Joy Reid the race lady multiple times, and finally Joy Reid stood back because she usually doesn't want to give someone like Tucker Carlson a platform. She laid into him the way good sister Tiffany Cross laid into Tim Scott, and it was beautifully done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tucker Carlson is the type of guy that couldn't get into the club, so he's going to make sure he hates outside of it every single day. And he is going to make sure he screams at everyone who can get in until his voice is heard. And he is exactly what he looks like and what he aims to be. And he made himself into that because he could not get into CNN, and he can't be the person, and he's not educated, and he's not, and that's why he is acting the way that he is.
But I think I agree, and I think it spoke volumes when Joy was spewing some of the, not spewing, but she was listing her credentials. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt, as a Black woman or a Black male, Black person, where you felt like you had to tell people how qualified you are for this position? Like, I feel I have to do that quite often. I had to do it when I was in grad school, and I'm just like, that's what that is. I have to always tell you why I'm qualified to be in X, Y, and Z room, when the Tucker Carlsons of the world don't have to do that. Their mere presence qualifies them to be in the room. And
yeah,
I loved when she did it, but I was like, damn, she shouldn't even have to do that.
She shouldn't. And you know what? One of those things kind of came up with the Rockwood situation, where there was an assistant superintendent was hired. She's a Black female. This racist group put up her financials, found that she had a bankruptcy, put it in the group, and said she wasn't qualified. If she couldn't manage her bankruptcy, her financials, how could she manage a school? And that is humiliating for anyone to have to go through.
But you're twice, what is it? Twice impeached. One president has gone bankrupt several times. But he had this entire country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not only misogynistic, it's also racist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they make no secrets about it.
Zero.
They make no secrets about it. So if you guys have not seen those two amazing pieces of journalistic commentary, please do so. Check it out. And you're right, Cassidy, as Tracey just said, this man filed bankruptcy 3 times, but yet still he was fit to run and be their president. Not only their president, but he's still their leader from the desk of Donald Trump app. We also have happening, and we can call him, even for some people, he's their savior, because Meghan McCain called him, the Cheeto Jesus this week on The View. We start.
Sometimes she here, sometimes she not here. I don't even know which side she on sometimes.
You know what? Meghan McCain is absolutely a Republican and a conservative, and that's who she is.
Yeah.
But I think that she is a borderline decent one. Borderline. I think her father was more decent throughout his career, and I think he made some big mistakes and lapses in judgment as he was pushed by the party when he ran against President Obama. But for the most part, he ran a solidly ethical campaign, and he definitely did some solidly good legislation.
He did
on behalf of his party, which is what they do. And she's fighting for a party, and I respect that, but she does cross the line at times. And I think her husband, however, is over the line in a bad way. Mom, I think, is on the over the line in a good way. We have the up, but Tracey, we also have the down. And what's the down? How do we describe the down to our good friends?
What is the not so good news of the week, of the day? Just something that is not positive news to spread around the world. So drop that beautiful bean footage.
Bad news, guys, is that a federal judge upheld the challenge against the eviction moratorium that was a part of the COVID-19 $1.9 trillion stimulus relief package. It is not allowable by law for landlords to evict tenants because funding is available for relief. However, a judge said that they can be evicted starting May 12th. It's on hold until May 12th. It was on hold to June 30th, but now it's saying that May 12th, it very well will be up. The Department of Justice, under Attorney General, my brain went, Merrick Garland, is fighting it and has filed an injunction, but it is possible that people who owe back rent and who have not received relief funds can be evicted. Here's the sad part of it is that there's a total of $25 billion available to the American people that they have a right to get from their state governments to pay their back rent. The problem is that only 5.5 billion of those funds have been allocated or released. And in Republican states like Georgia, the money is even further backlogged and the citizens are being denied their due process. All of this leads to what could very well be a huge eviction crisis coming next week. Ladies, this is to me a major down and really bad news. What are your thoughts?
It's terrible. It's absolutely ridiculous that people have to fear this right now. The 12th is just around the corner. Yeah. I'm hoping that that this appeal process happens, that it goes back and they relook at this matter, because this is going to affect so many people, and it's honestly devastating.
People are not only going to lose their homes, they're going to be losing jobs. You know, like people are already not working. That's why they're not paying rent. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I just think that, I'm nervous about 21, 22, because of people's mental states. Yeah. I'm more concerned about the mental state of this country when people start losing their homes and, what they could potentially do.
Yeah.
Because you just never know when you're pushed to the edge, what may happen. So we got to pray for them.
Yeah. And, I want to just say to everybody out there to think about why is it that there is such a push, especially in Republican red states, to evict these people and make them homeless. As Cassidy states, the homeless rate is already very high. It absolutely is. Here's the issue, and this is why they made it so. This is why in Georgia, I have friends who never got their unemployment money. Never got it. They never got it. I heard that was the case in Florida, South Carolina. They were using that to say that the stimulus efforts that President Biden put into effect didn't work. They want it to not work because it gives them ammunition for their own personal gain in the re-election. If people are evicted and the economy starts to go on the downslide, it's going to boost people's push to elect Republicans. It's the politics of it that is sad. The American people are hurting and they're going to continue to hurt. We can't stop amplifying the fact that the Biden administration has allocated the funds, made sure that the Democratic Party made sure the funds were available. It's Republicans who are holding it up in some states. I don't know what it's like in your state, Karen, but I know that to be the case right here.
Yeah,
in the state of Georgia. Yes, we will make them. We can make them famous. For
absolutely, Ashton. Absolutely,
Ashton. I'm gonna make a TikTok about this on Saturday. If you would like to follow Zacktivist on TikTok and say that, it won't get lots of views, but I'm going to make it. And I feel like I wrote down the judge's name, but I see that I didn't. But let me tell you a name that I did write down, because we don't only have. This is all accurate. We don't only talk about the up, the down, but we also talk about the clown. Now I got two clowns, but this is the one clown I plan to talk about. Then I have a clown I did plan to talk about, but she clowns, so I got to share it. Is this man right here? This is a local state representative from, I think it's Louisiana, or is it Tennessee, Kentucky? I don't know, but he's a moron. His name is Justin Lafferty. Justin Lafferty, I want to say it's Louisiana. He got up and he was attacking Aunt Karen and Tracey, critical race theory. And he was saying that you don't need to rewrite American history because the 3/5 compromise gave Black people equality in the United States of America. Let me reclassify. He said that this man, an elected official in the state of, I think, Louisiana, said that the 3/5 compromise gave Black people equality in America. Everybody out there, it was a 3/5 compromise that said only 3/5 of the slave population could be counted for the census to allocate House of Representatives seats. That only 3/5 of the population of people who were enslaved were actually people.
Yeah. So that's people. We have elected officials who don't even know the history. And
that's why critical race theory needs to be taught.
Exactly. And he's
Tennessee. Thank you, Tracey. It's Tennessee.
Tennessee, which makes me angry. Well, I don't know why I'm surprised. I grew up in Tennessee. That should not surprise me. But y'all, we are just electing anybody. And you know, I think I was 40. I was yesterday years old when I found out that you don't have to have a degree to be an elected official.
Mm-hmm.
It just got, not to say that, you know, degrees make you qualified, because there are smart people who have not gone to school, to college. But I'm just saying, if you're going to be a lawmaker, you have to be astute in law and history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tracey, you would think so, but our second clown doesn't have a college education, nor does our second clown have a high school diploma. Our second clown did get a GED when she decided that she was going to run for the United States House of Representatives representing Colorado. I am talking about the clown, Lauren Boebert, and all of the people that got on Twitter saying that Facebook was violating their freedom of speech by not giving the twice impeached, one-term failed president, Donald J. Trump, back his Facebook platform. Lauren Boebert said that when it is clear that the First Amendment protects us from the government interfering in our free speech, it does not in any way apply to a private media entity like Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. In actuality, the First Amendment does the opposite. It protects Facebook and Twitter and YouTube's right to express free speech because they are part of the press. It doesn't protect and say that any of us have a right to be on that platform, and it most certainly doesn't protect us when we violate the guidelines set forth by that. So Lauren Boebert is also a clown this week.
You know, I always say freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences. And I don't understand why people cannot understand that. When I get a lot of people who, most recently, a man that I have revealed some of his Twitter comments, which were, you know, he said, if you run from the cops, it's open season. Well, he posted that. And his and I did a video on that, and he got fired from his employer of 20 years. And he said that the left is winning, you know, cancel culture is winning. And it's no. I'm in human resources. Your company said they have a policy. You violated their policy, and you no longer represent what they are looking for in their ideals and values of their employee. That is why you were fired.
It's just like in athletics. If you are representing a team and you all go to Golden Corral, they give us a speech before we get off the bus. Kids, remember, you are representing X, Y, and Z University. Whatever you say or do could potentially cause you to lose your position on this team and your scholarship. So, I mean, we're not saying don't do it, but don't do it. You are representative of the university, the organization, the company. You got to understand that.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. I agree. I agree fully. And I think that, you know, people have to be held accountable for the things that they do. And that's a part of it. And it is a part because how is he going to stop it? And when you said, Aunt Karen, that he said that the left is winning and cancel culture is out to get me, it's going to get you too. Let me tell you something. There was a wonderful story that I heard this morning on NPR as I was driving in to work. And so what I heard was they were talking about the battle in Georgia around baseball and about how Georgians feel about it and about these companies that are fighting the voter suppression bills that have been passed in Georgia, now soon just passed in Florida, get ready to pass in, you know, Texas. And it talked about, this is about the long game. It's not about the right now. In Georgia, like 60-something% of voters are opposed to the MLB pulling out the All-Star game. But the surprising fact is many of those in that 60% are over the age of 45. People 45 or under actually are in favor of it, and they would rather lose business and revenue in the state of Georgia if it means that people are going to have their voting rights. This is the long game. Businesses are focused and catering to the young voters and the young clientele because they're going to be here. Mm-hmm. They're the future of this country. And so Coca-Cola and Delta have no problem standing up for what's right because they know that history will be on their side.
Absolutely.
History is not going to be on the side of these people screaming about cancel culture is going to fit. Make it. History is also going to be on the side of the person that we picked to end on a high note. We always try to end with, we start with good news, we end with good news. This is the best of us, and this week's best of us recipient is famed journalist Yamiche Alcindor, who was named as PBS's Washington Week anchor. She has been in the game for a long time. She's a native of Miami. Her family is from Haiti. She really has done amazing work. She jumped to the national spotlight when she confronted twice impeached, one-term failed president Donald J. Trump in the press room and was removed and not allowed back in his White House briefing room. And her career has continued to rise. She stood up for what she believed in. She stood up for, ethics in journalism, and she really does represent the best of us. So we're happy to recognize her tonight. We're also happy and so thankful that you were able to join us, Aunt Karen.
Yes, 100%. I'm so happy that I got to do this.
You got to come back.
Oh, yes.
You got to have future collaborations. You got to bring us on your podcast.
Absolutely.
Yes, we're here. It's called Fresh Tea on Spotify with Aunt Karen. If you don't follow her on TikTok, please do so. Aunt Karen is in the comments here for my good friend Cassidy, but I'm going to see if I can find it and repost it. You want to follow her on TikTok, right here. It is an amazing platform, great content creation. We thank you. Is there any final comments, Tracey and Karen? Anything to say?
No, I thank you guys for having me on. It's been so much fun.
Thank you, Aunt Karen. We got to have you back. Are you on Instagram?
I am. I'm on Instagram. I just started.
Okay.
So
she has like 1,000 followers.
That's where I am. I'm on Instagram. Well, let me find you.
Okay.
What's your name on here?
Aunt Karen. Aunt Karen 0.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm going to be. There she is.
Thank you guys for joining, and we will see you